welcome back everyone. I'm Mel Wordy Stitches and this is my Floss Tube, my channel where I talk about cross stitch and embroidery and a little bit of crochet and other things that I do. Today will be mostly about cross stitch and embroidery. Now it has been a little while since my last Floss Tube. I'm not quite sure what happened in July and August, but I just didn't really get my act together to record a Floss Tube. So today I thought, no, I just have to do it because otherwise I'm never going to be able to work out what I've done since the last one, and it's going to be about 3 hours long and no one wants that. I'm also trying something new. I've got a new laptop that has a working camera again. I had killed the camera on my old Air a couple of years ago, so I've been recording these on my phone. So now I'm recording on my laptop and we're going to see how that turns out in terms of picture and editing. So a slightly different angle, but we'll see how we go. But hello, welcome if you are new. I know I've had a couple of new subscribers in the last 2 months, so apologies you've had to wait for any new content, and welcome back to anyone who is joining me. Again, it's lovely to see you. Today is Monday, the 29th of August. It has just started raining in Melbourne, so I apologise if you can hear the rain. We had actually our first warmish weekend for months, but I think we're in for another cool week. Winter just is hanging on for this last bit of August and refusing to die. And we're all over it because it's been really cold and really miserable, and maybe that's why I haven't been filming Floss Tubes, because all I would do is whinge about the weather. All right, so let's stop talking about the weather and talk about cross stitch. So what have I finished? Because I was working on a couple of big things, I haven't got a lot of finishes to show for 2 and a bit months of stitching. So the first one is this, which I think I showed the pattern in the last one. So this is What a Galah by Fox You Are So Crafty, Crafty Like a Fox. I think they're Crafty Like a Fox on Instagram and Fox You Are So Crafty on Etsy. So these are 2 Australian galahs, which are my favourite Australian parrots, I think, just because they're so pretty. Who doesn't love a coral pink and grey parrot? So that's very cute. So this is just a 20 count mystery Ada I got in a grab bag from number 12 Stitch Co. It's the same piece that I did my edge catted one in the last video, and it's the same piece that I've done my next finish on, which is this one. So this was a whip go. It may have been, well, it might have been a June whip go. That's pretty slack, isn't it, if it's that long since I did it? It's either June or July. So this is from it's the Lily from Climbing the Trellis by Blackbird Designs, which is this. So it's this one here. Oh, this is going to be reversed, isn't it? This one here. I will do the other one eventually, but I haven't had any time for it. So this one. So I changed the colours on this when I looked at the recommended Blackbird colours. They were just that bit muted and they didn't look as pink as the picture, and I'd liked the pink in the picture, so I brightened them up a little bit, and maybe again that's part of my winter's dull and gloomy and we don't like it, so let's brighten it up. So yeah, so I changed the colours on that one, which, sorry Blackbird purists who are now going no at the screen, but I did and I like it. So that one. And then the next finish that I have, it's not quite a fully finished object, but let's call it as fully finished as it's going to get for a little while. Hopefully this is not too reflecty. So I finished, oh, there you go, that's not too bad. Ruskin's Penguins by Modern Folk Embroidery, and I think in my last video I talked about, you know, quicker ways to frame things, because was it Imogen Xstitch? Someone had talked on their Floss Tube about doing a shadow box. So I went onto Amazon and I found a couple of shadow box frames. So this is the first one I've put in one of them because I had finished my Ruskin's Penguins. So it's just pinned in and folded, so it's a little bit rustic, but it is actually on my wall. So at the moment, I'm happier to have it on the wall and enjoyable, and you can see it's not non-reflective glass or anything, but in terms of having a frame where I can swap things in and out easily and get some stuff on my wall, because my house is not huge, so I don't have a lot of wall space that I can devote to lots of cross stitch. So having flexible options is a good one for me. I've got a second one of these frames, which I will either put another, I should say. So this is Ruskin's Penguins by Modern Folk Embroidery. The linen was, I think it's 32 count Whit Sunday by Number 12 Stitch Co. And it's the recommended Leo and Roxy floss, which I think is weathered white and chalkboard without looking. But if you go on the Leo and go on the Evertote site where they sell the Leo and Roxy flosses, they sell this pattern, and they at the time had a floss pack for it, which I did use most of. And so I'm sure they still have, but I know it's chalkboard and weathered white, I think. And it's really nice floss to work with. And this was just a fun pattern. It is true, one cannot be angry when one looks at a penguin or stitches penguin. So that is a pretty finished object. Let's call it a pretty finished object. Because who knows whether we will get it framed. I'm thinking of, I might have mentioned there's a company in Australia that makes like magnetic frames for kids art too, that sort of flip open at the front and you can pop stuff in with magnets. So I'm thinking about getting one of those to try as well. So those are my finishes. Watch Mel as she tries to remember what you talk about on a floss tube. Okay, let's do whips. So I don't have any little whips at the moment. Sorry, my whip pile is about to fall down. So let's go through what we've been working on. Sorry, rustle. So my temperature library by Kristi's Korner Needlework. So Dr. Kristi on Instagram. You can see it's been cold, blue. So that's my lowest temperature range. There's like 1 or 2 teal days in July, but otherwise it's a lot of blue for the last few months. So this is Temperature Library by Dr. Kristi. She gives you sort of a rainbow palette with sort of progressing through a rainbow for the 20 colours, and I've done a tone on tone. So pink, teal, blue and coral, and 5 colours in each of those ranges. So coral's the hottest, pink is middle, teal, and then blue. So you can see, yes, we're in our coldest months because I'm in the southern hemisphere here in Australia. So let me show you knickknacks. So Kristi gives you knickknacks in the pattern, but I've been changing mine up. So let's work out where we were. So, June, my knickknacks, I did a I Descent, because, you know, Roe v. Wade, crabby. And then I did a star because I had a book come out. Okay, I'm back, hopefully, fixing my screen going blank on me while I'm recording, which is not very useful. So what was I saying? So my 2nd June one, which is this one, was a star because I had a book come out. I'm a writer, so that's always exciting. And then in July, this strange thing here. So in Melbourne, in my state, Victoria, in the botanical gardens this winter, we had like a nighttime sort of light exhibitions where people have done all sort of cool things with lighting and lasers and those sorts of effects at different parts around the botanic garden. So you walk through and it takes, I don't know, about an hour or so to walk around and watch all the things. So my mum and I booked to go at the start of July, and then unfortunately she got COVID. So we ended up just being able to sneak in on the last weekend, which was lovely and it was beautiful. So I just, you know, and one of my favourites is that they had these massive sort of flowers, you know, abstract flowers on these tall poles, and the multiple petals that all changed colours and things in different time with the music. So that's what that's trying to represent, is my lightscape. And I haven't quite worked out what I'm going to do for August yet. I've got 3 more days to decide, 2 more days to decide. All right, so that's that one. That is my temperature library. And then the other thing I've been working on a little bit is my map. So I'm stitching a map of one of my own fantasy worlds. One of my book series is about. Ooh. If I can work out the picture-in-picture doing it this way, I will put a picture of where it was. And so this is where it is now. Oh, got a weird angle. Okay, so so this is based on a kit by Hare's Nest, which was sort of an abstract stitch your own map, and it has some stencils and colours and suggestions for how to do things, and I just sort of took that as general inspiration. I'm using the fabric and a few of their stencils and things, but I'm just sort of making up my map as I go along to be a more actual quasi-representational map of this world. I'm just using Cottage Garden threads because the variegation is sort of good for map stuff. So yeah, so I've sort of got the structure in there, and now the next steps will be working out some more how to indicate trees and forests and a few more lakes and rivers and things. I'm not going to put in all the names of the countries or names of the cities and stuff because it'll be a bit small and a bit long. Oh, and that is Vespa the cat apparently wanting to put in an appearance. Do you want to put in an appearance? Say hello. No, see, if I pick her up, she'll go, no, I don't want to. Hello? You're going to go down? Okay, good. All right. And then my last whip. So in my last floss tube, I think I showed Kathy Barrick's HL's Moth pattern, which I was all set to think after I finished Ruskin's Penguins. I think that's what I want to do next. And I bought most of the threads, I think, and then at the end of July, I saw Sanctum Stitching post that she and Pumpkin Creek Primitives and Serrana Stitches were going to do a sell in August, and it was going to be the Virgin Fancy Lady sale. So it was stitch your first smaller Nora Corbett pattern or Mirabilia or whatever you choose to do as a way of sort of, you know, I think a lot of us buy the gorgeous Mirabilia, big fancy ladies, and then get a little bit intimidated by the size and the beadings and all that sort of stuff. Now I've got the Raven Queen Mirabilia pattern, which I love, which I want to do, which is essentially kitted up. I'm just waiting to maybe make a bit more progress on Dilemma before I start another big project. But I also, because yes, those three ladies are correct that it's a little bit intimidating to start thinking about doing one of those. At the big, I bought a couple of, so Nora has a series called Bewitching Pixies, which are all sort of witchy ladies and fantasy sort of ladies, and they're smaller. So this one's, what is it? It's about 120 by 160, I think. Yeah, 164 wide by 118 high. So not, you know, the big ones are more like 300 by 200. So not so intimidating. So I thought, well, maybe this is a good nudge to actually stop looking at these as well and actually do one. So I thought I would do Witching Hour. I just love how she looks like she's just had a hard day and she needs her cup of whatever potion she is drinking, or witchy wine. I just love how Nora Corbett, like, she just gets these really expressive lines in cross stitch, which is not always the easiest thing to do. So this has got beads and a little bit of backstitch. It's not too backstitch heavy. And the lady, now because Raven Queen is sort of blacks and greys and teals, and my other two Bewitching Pixies I have, which is Minerva, what's the other one, Masked Mischief or something like that, they're both in shades of blues and teals as well. I thought, well, rather than having one in purples, I'm going to convert the colours just to add to the challenge. So this is where we're at. So I've done all the stitching, I've done the back stitching, and I've started the beads here on the music stand. So don't be too critical of my beading skills, because apart from my little bee gnome, I haven't beaded before. So this is my first time beading on linen rather than perforated paper, but I'm really happy with how the colours came out. So I basically looked at the colours in the other three and sort of worked out something that will go with them you sort of needed 4 colours in a series. So I've got the DMC colour chart, so I could pick colours and work out 4 colours. And so I think she looks really pretty. And then I, had to pick bead colours as well, because obviously the original had sort of 2 shades of red beads and I needed the teal beads. And it's hard online to pick out beads sometimes, but I've picked like a brighter teal and then this sort of more iridescent black with sort of blues and teals and purples in it. So, but I think it looks all right so far. So I've just got the beading to finish now. So that's actually stitched up relatively quickly. Like I've worked more on this month than anything else. So I've just really done the bookshelf, and I think I've done 3 days on the mat because it's a whip go call. So I've got to do 2 more days. But yeah, the rest of my stitching time this month has been on this, but still I was surprised that I've made this much progress. It's almost done. Probably a couple more days to finish the beads because it's not super bead heavy either. There's sort of beads around her dress draping and a few off the hat and things, but I don't think the cat has any. So I've done the owl, so it shouldn't be too long. So that has been fun, and that has definitely worked to make me feel better and more confident about starting Raven Queen. Other than for Raven Queen, I'll have to learn how to do the whole skin over one bit, etc. if I choose to do that. Okay, so those are my whips. As I said, I haven't had a lot, so let's talk about haul, which I think I've been pretty good given it's been 2 and a bit months since my last one. So let's talk about patterns first. So I've just got photos. I've been buying PDF stuff, so I haven't printed it out yet. Let's see. So the first one, so Kristi released another knick-knack pack for your bookshelf, and I think I'll do another bookshelf next year, but look, dinosaurs. I really want a dinosaur on my bookshelf, so I couldn't resist that. So I thought I'm going to buy this one. So that was one of my purchases, and then I bought another Crafty Like a Fox. So this is squawkers. So these are sulphur-crested cockatoos, like the glass. They're another Australian parrot. So I can make that one and have a set of 2. So that was cute. I think I showed this as a pattern crush once. So this is by Being Supreme. This is Shameless Hussy, which just makes me laugh. So she was having a sale, so I thought, oh, I'm going to give in and buy that one. So that will be on the list. And then Mama Witch Cross Stitch, who makes these cool designs, but she released this one. It's called Chicken Farm. Look at that fox. Who could resist that fox? He's very happy with himself. Hopefully he does just farm his chickens and doesn't eat them. But he's a fox, so who knows. So that one was kind of a whim because I saw someone post it and I just really liked it. So this is Witch's Dance by SubRosa Designs. So it's one of these ones, what do you call them? Repeating pattern, mandala sort of pattern where it goes around in a square repeating, but like we don't really do Halloween in a big, well, some people do in Australia, but not a lot. And I'm not a very Halloween person, but I do like witchy things, and a lot of the witchy patterns are like the greens and oranges and stuff, which are not my thing. So I just liked that one as a little pillow to do, so that will be fun. Let me see, is there anything left? Have I forgotten? No, well, yeah, I have ordered 2 more things, but they will come as I'm going to do Needlework Expo faves instead of pattern crushes. So physical haul, let's talk about what we've got in physical hauls. All right, so because I can't resist, I got some more linen from number 12 Stitch Co. So this is antique lace. Let me see, is this 36? Yep, 36 count. So yeah, the lighting is not great today. It's more sort of, it's got that more straw golden tone to it that it's going to show in the camera. So I've got another piece of this that isn't quite as yellow as, oh, that's a better colour there. That's a better representation just there. So yeah, so it's more yellow than if I hold it up. Yeah, it gets a bit blown out. So I don't know, sort of, yeah. So that is antique lace. I've got another piece that's not quite as dark as that, but you know, hand-dyed linen, it varies from batch to batch, which is part of the joy. And then this one is Sea Mist, which is just a nice sagey green colour. I think I was actually thinking about this for the moth, because the moth is sort of like dusty browny pink tones, and I just thought that might, like, in the pattern it's stitched on like a warm brown colour, but I thought it might also look quite nice on this green. I quite like dusty pinks with the sagey green. So that is a 32 count. And then, okay, so just today, I might leave these until I talk about the Pattern Expo thing, because they're kind of tied into that. All right, we'll do that. So the other thing, because I've been doing the map, which is freehand embroidery, surface embroidery rather than cross stitch, and thinking about what sort of stitches I might use to indicate like forests and stuff, and so some, you know, fly stitch and those sorts of things. I was been looking at a few sort of more freehand embroidery things on Instagram and getting inspired. And I am in a slow stitching Facebook group too, where everyone shares their gorgeous things. And one thing that I've seen pop up a lot is Sue Spargo. So Sue Spargo does like, she does quilts, but she does like wool applique and a lot of embellished thing. And one of her patterns that I just keep seeing pattern is this toned down, like it's a circle sampler. So these are all little wool felt circles with all different specialty stitches. So it's sort of a way of learning decorative stitches and specialty stitches and playing with colour. And it's just done on like wool and wool felt and stuff. So I don't know if I'll do one this big, but I've seen various versions of this, and every time I say oh, that looks nice. And she's got another needle roll pattern too, but I thought I'll buy that sampler, and then if you're going to do the sampler, you need that. So this is her stitch book, which teaches you how to do all the various stitches. So it's just a really good reference for embroidery as well. Why is my alarm going off? Apologies for that. So I bought the book as well, which will be helpful, hopefully, in doing the map. I've got a couple of embroidery books, but it's always good to see which ones actually click. I like to learn things visually, so different pictures that show you different way. And then the other thing, because I mean, in that slow stitching group, and you know, people from time to time talk about books they like, or you know, YouTubes they like to learn stitches and things. So while I was, you know, thinking, oh, what stitches do I need to know for this map? What might I do? And looking for some inspiration on YouTube, I found Art Fiber Stitch, who is an Aussie sort of slow stitcher, and she designs embroidery kits and things for slow stitching, as well as she just has YouTubes on how to do them. But she had a kit on Etsy, which is this seascape, which is sort of done with like gauzy linens and some slow stitches and different fabric, just sort of torn and crumpled and stitched over each other. And I just really liked the look of it, so I bought the little kit for myself. So you get you know, some needles and a bit of thread, and you know, the different coloured gauzy things, and the backing fabric in a mat board. So that will be there sitting as a little embroidery project to do when I get the urge to do some hand embroidery. But you know, she has a really good floss tube if you're interested in doing some sort of, you know, free-form embroidery, slow stitch, sort of landscapey sort of stuff, which I quite like the look of. So that one. So yeah, so I've been watching some of her YouTube videos, and a few other people, and now I'm going blank. But in terms of cross stitch YouTube, I haven't been watching a lot of Flosstube. Currently sort of in the end of writing a book, so coming up hard on my deadline and having to write a lot. So I haven't been watching a lot of Flosstube, but a couple of new people that I've started watching. So CreativeLeigh, who's a Kiwi. Now Nicky Noodles mentioned her in her last video, because she was talking about doing the sewing method in a hoop, because she said she'd watched Leigh. Leigh uses the sewing method and has seen how fast she did it, and then Nicky Noodles was working out how to do that in the hoop. Now, I quite like the sewing method, but yeah, my left hand, like if I do sewing method for more than like half an hour, like the joint in my thumb and my wrist will be quite sore for several days. It doesn't just get crampy, it just like really sort of irritates. So I was like, oh, if you can do it in a hoop, that would be good. So I think Nicky Noodles is hoping to do a demonstration. I'd seen there's someone else on Instagram who does sewing method in a hoop too. It might be the Vivsters. But so trying to work out how to do that. But I thought, well, I'm going to go and watch Leigh's Flosstube, because Nicky had said she'd done this demonstration. Wow, she stitches fast. She's like, she holds it a particular way, and she's like zoom, zoom, zoom. So obviously sewing method, when you've got lots of colour changes and things, must be a little bit more fussy, but if you're doing something with variegated thread or monochrome or whatever, it's definitely a lot faster. Or if you're just doing fill-in. So Leigh's quite entertaining because she's a Kiwi, and she's one of these people who likes to swap up the colours and change some of the design elements and things. And I think, as I have learnt about myself in this last couple of years of stitching, I'm someone who will swap colours and things too. So I like seeing other people who do that, because some people are, purists, and that's fine. It's whatever makes your heart happy with cross stitch, and they won't change a design, but I will change a design or change the colours, because it's going to be hanging on my walls and it has to make me happy when I look at it. So I suggest checking out Leigh. She's just hit 1,000 subscribers, so congratulations to Leigh. That's awesome. I'm nowhere near 1,000 subscribers, so that is impressive to me. Impressive to everyone, because that's a lot of people who want to hear you talk about cross stitch and embroidery. But yeah, no, she does lots of interesting projects. I've only watched, 4 or 5 of her videos now, and she's got quite a long backlist, so I can work my way back through that at my leisure. And then the other person who's just started a Flosstube, which is great, is Jo, who's the designer behind Mojo Stiches. Now, I did her Take Wing. Let me see if I can put in a picture. Her Take Wing sampler, which is Aussie birds in a Quaker, which was lovely and lots of fun. And she has started Flosstube, so that's awesome. She has some gorgeous patterns, and she's just done a collaboration with Cottage Garden Threads, which is a expo release. So they've designed a range of 28, I think, new colours. So her first Flosstube is going through all those colours and her inspiration for them. And the series is called, I'm going to get this wrong, is it Bookshelf? I think it's Bookshelf or Bookstore. So it's all inspired by, like, the things in a old cozy vintage bookstore, which I'm a writer, that is right up my alley. And I found her really interesting, and I'm sure her next ones will be really interesting. So let's talk about expo faves then. So while we're talking about Jo from Mojo Stiches, so this is in the library. Oh, my brain is going. Anyway, this is one of her next expo releases, and it's stitched with, I think, 12 of the colours from her new range. So I've pre-ordered this one from A Stitch in Time, and I've pre-ordered the thread pack, which is a little bit extravagant, but whatever. It's my birthday next month, so I deserve that. But, as we might have gathered from the temperature, let me see if I can angle, the picture's angled, but let's make it straight. I like bookshelf type things and book related cross stitch, so that is right up my alley. It's got a cat on it, it's got some plants, it's just gorgeous. So I'm looking forward to stitching that and stitching some of with the new threads. So she's done a range sort of more specifically thinking about cross stitch, so there's some less variegated ones in and some tonal variegations and things. Cottage Garden Threads has a wide range of colours, but a lot of them have quite strong variegation in them, and they've always thought more about hand embroidery and those sorts of things, I think. So she talks about how they were thinking about the threads and working on something specifically for cross stitch. So I can see myself possibly acquiring the rest of the collection over time, but because they all just looked gorgeous. So go and watch that one as well. And Jo just seems lovely. I haven't met her, but I know her a little bit. Follow her on Instagram and things, feel like you know people. And she's another Aussie, so this is here for the Aussie and Kiwi recommendations. All right, so I pre-ordered that one from A Stitch in Time in Hobart, Carolyn. And this is the other Expo release, which I have pre-ordered. So this is Leigh Stitches, a spooky book, which are sort of 6-pick patterns. I've just always, she's been talking about designing this goth chicken for a while. And it's crow and a raven. I have a bit of a thing for crows and ravens. They're in one of my fantasy series and, doing the Raven Queen. So this has a couple of cute raven patterns in and some other spooky patterns. There's a cat one too. I'm not going to go through what they all are. But when she said she was putting goth chicken in a book with some others, I thought, yep, sold on that too. Because it's a book, you have to get the hard copy. So I've pre-ordered that one from A Stitch in Time as well. I haven't gone through what everyone has done for Expo, but a couple that have crossed my path that I really like as well, that I am up to date on. So the blue flower, Janine, has some gorgeous ones, but I really like this Magpie in the Moon, I think it's called. It's just a little pillow, but it's really pretty. I've got my eye on that one, but because I bought the thread pack for in the library, I'm not going to be buying many Expo patterns straight away. Sorry, people. But that is really pretty and definitely on the want list. And then the last one that I really liked. So Liz Mathews had some pretties, but this poppy, it's just, it's going to blow out. Let's see. There we go. That's just, really simple, but, I like florals and botanicals. So I thought that was pretty as well. So those are my Expo picks. So, not that I haven't got 475 other patterns to stitch, but, you've got to look at all the pretties and save all the pretties, and I will be, once my book is finally done, hopefully I can catch up on everyone's Expo releases and see what else might go onto the wish list. But because I'd seen Jo from Mojo Stiches talking about in the library, and she mentioned it was stitched on baked clay by Fox and Rabbit, who are an Australian linen dyers as well. And so I was sort of Googling who might have it and came up on the Stitch in Time website. But sadly, Carolyn was out of stock. But because she did have some Fox and Rabbit in stock, and it tends to go out of stock quite quickly, I just grabbed a couple of pieces to try it because I haven't tried it before. So I've got a couple of smaller pieces. So this one is flannel flower. So it's kind of a pale creamy colour with this mottling, which is, I guess, a purpley tinged grey. Like it's grey, but there's a definite slight purple tone to it. So that's just really pretty. So flannel flower is an Australian plant. It just has white petals and sort of yellow centres and sort of dusky green-grey foliage. A lot of Australian native plants have that sort of eucalyptus green-grey tones in their foliage, or even the ones that are quite green, darker greens, sort of, it's that slightly muted green rather than bright greens like a lot of plants from England and the US and things have. And then this one is saltbush. So that's sort of a slightly green-grey taupey colour. And saltbush is just a little, scrubby Australian plant as well. So that's probably a good representation. So both of those are 36, I think. Let's check. Yeah, both 36. So they will be waiting to stitch nice things on. They feel really nice and soft to stitch on. So that will be good. And I'll just have to keep my eyes peeled and see if I can score the baked clay for into the library somewhere. All right. So yes, I think that is everything. That brings us up to date. Hopefully plans. So I will finish the witch. Whipco calls for September. Number 3 for me was actually Take Wing, which I put on my board twice, but I actually finished it back in January or February. So I'd left it on as a finished but not call. So now I can mark it off as called and finished, so that's good. And then I think my other one is Dilemma, so I'll do 5 days on Dilemma. I'll finish the Witch, and then I guess I will pick another sort of medium-sized project to do, which may be into the library, but probably not in September, because I think by the time Carolyn orders things and then they get to her and ship, so that's more likely to be later in the year, probably October or something, the way the mail from the US seems to be going. Though Joe's in Australia, so that might be faster, but she'll still hold everything, ships one. Oh, and this is the other thing I bought from Stitch in Time. So this is some Lady Dot Creates the mini pom-poms. So this is Carib. It's like, you know, I'm a sucker for tealy blues, so I thought I'm going to buy some of this stuff and you know, do some pillow finishes and things and learn to do some trim. So I thought I will do that. Yeah, so finish the Witch, do my 5 days on Dilemma. I'm not going to sub in something else for Take Wing because, as I said, I am on book deadlines, so most of September is going to be frantically writing and editing before I have to get my manuscript to my editor on the 1st of October. And then, yeah, so I'll pick something else. I may go back to the Moth. I may be distracted and do something else, or feel like doing some smalls, or do that seascape hand embroidery. Who knows is what I'm saying, because I'm trying to focus on writing and the book. Just have to see what takes my fancy, as we would say. In the meantime, I can't really show you much progress on my crochet blanket that I had started, because for some reason I just haven't been in the mood to crochet. Maybe because I was focused on getting Ruskin's Penguins finished, and then I've picked up the Witch to do as well. So doing those plus the other whip go calls that I've had has sort of been enough stitching time. So by the time I've done my stitching for the night, and because I've been doing lots of writing, I've got to like not overwork the hands if I don't want to have to take a couple of days off to rest them, which is not ideal when you're on a deadline. So yeah, so I haven't done a lot of crochet, so I imagine that one I might do a little bit in September and October, or else it might just go into hibernation until next winter and I'll get the crochet bug next winter. But that's me. Hopefully it won't be quite so long before I do another one of these. I'll probably try and do one sometime in September, probably later in the month, but yeah, I'm not expecting to sort of like have a lot of haul and necessarily have a lot of stitching progress, but we'll try and do just a quick one just so it's not such a long break. But thank you for hanging in there with me. Happy stitching to all of you. Welcome to the change of seasons. So yay to everyone in Australia who's coming out of this long cold winter. All the Northern Hemisphere people are laughing at us for whining about it being a cold winter when it's not cold at all by your standards, but it's cold by our standards, and our houses are built to let heat escape in the hot summers rather than be properly insulated for winter. So it's the reverse of like the England, where it gets up to 30 degrees and their houses are not air conditioned and they're designed to trap heat. They all get overheated because they're just not used to it. It's the same when we get extra chilly winters because we don't like it. And it's just been really grey and wet. Like we're having a La Nina season. They're thinking it's going to extend into summer, so we've been having floods and things. So just a lot of rain. It's the wettest winter we've had for several years. Last winter was chilly, but not quite this cold and not this wet. So it's just been that really gloomy stay inside weather. We good for stitching, not good for trying to socialise in a COVID safe manner. We've been having quite the COVID spike over winter as well, and a bad flu season. So it's been a good time to stay home and stitch, but apparently not to make Floss Tubes. But however, I am just rambling now, so I will sign off. Thank you for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that I have talked about, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye.